I will reiterate my perspective that Trump allowing this to happen, allowing this to go forward, it makes him a traitor and it also makes him a coward. And you would do well to accept that fact. And you would do well to accept that fact. And you would do well to accept that fact. Switching gears, because it does appear that they are really just throwing everything at me, particularly yesterday. I didn't even know which way to look. Happy birthday to me. Good thing I'm built for it. I'm just built differently. Erica didn't just name me and put a target on my back and lie about what I said, but she wasn't the only one, right? We also had congressmen in the House presenting a bipartisan resolution name-checking me. This is the headline in the Times of Israel. Headline on literally April 29th. I couldn't believe this. The U.S. House is considering a resolution condemning Hassan Piker. I've never spoken to that person in my entire life. And Candace Owens for, you got it, guys, anti-Semitism. Who's bringing this forward? Okay, we've got Reps Mike Lauer and Josh Gottheimer. And it's a bipartisan bill to denounce anti-Semitic hate-filled rhetoric. Though far-left Piker says that the move is making anti-Semitism worse. That is our subheading here. The resolution begins by condemning anti-Semitic hate-filled rhetoric and content that is disseminated to prominent online personalities, blah, blah, blah. It tells us that whereas the rise of digital media platforms has enabled individuals with large audiences to disseminate disinformation, commentary, and political viewpoints to millions of viewers worldwide, such influence carries a heightened responsibility to avoid rhetoric that promotes hatred, violence, or discrimination against any group, including Jewish individuals and communities. All on the same day, everyone is just suddenly signaling that speech is violence. Speech is now violence. They name check me and says, whereas Candace Owens has employed rhetoric that has included conspiracy theories, accusing Israel of controlling the United States government. By the way, ironically, these two people, both of them who brought this forward, take more than $1 million from AIPAC. Governments promoting false claims that Jews are taught by ancient religious texts to hate non-Jews and casting doubt on the truth of Holocaust survivors. I mean, this goes on and on. Of course, I can't defend myself. They can just put whatever they want. It's a resolution. She made the anti-Semitic claim that the United States is controlled by satanic pedophiles who work for Israel. That's not an anti-Semitic claim, okay? Satanic pedophiles working for Israel. We're talking about Epstein and everyone who has defended the Epstein class, okay? That is not explicitly Jewish. In fact, I have been name-checking Christian Zionist pastor after Christian Zionist pastor. So do not put this on, this means you're talking about all Jews, okay? When Donald Trump said, what, are we still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? That is when he lost me entirely. To my knowledge, President Trump is not Jewish.
The great one, Mark Levin. And much more importantly, his much more brilliant wife. Where are you? There you are. Would you come on up here, both of you? Get up here. Get up here. Look, every Saturday, every Sunday, I'm forced to watch television to listen to this guy talk about how frickin' great I am. Because he does like Trump. There's no question about it. Come on up here, Mark. Get up here. Come on up. What a beautiful couple. Did you get lucky? If you weren't a genius, you wouldn't have a wife like this. Mark, say a couple of words. Come here, darling. And these people do like Israel.
Hold on. And he loves Israel, too.
It's true.
2 seconds. Just 2 seconds. 6 years ago, I was up here, and I said, this is our first Jewish president. Now he's the first Jewish president to serve two not consecutive presidencies. We thank you for everything.
To my knowledge, President Trump is not Jewish.
Yes.
To my knowledge, President Trump is not Jewish.
Should we do that on camera?
Absolutely, sure. So to let you know, this is the birth certificate of Donald Trump's grandfather, born in 1869, close to Bad Dürkheim.
Right?
Yeah.
That's called
And his
serious.
Christian name was Friedrich.
Right? That's serious German.
Serious German.
That's serious. Bad Dürkheim is serious German. But I want to thank you very much for, first of all, I want to thank you for that. That's beautiful.
pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you again.
Fantastic. We'll put it up in a place of honor.
Yeah.
Maybe we can, let's see. To put it up there someplace.
To my knowledge, President Trump is not Jewish.
According to the source, Trump was pushed by his daughter Ivanka and son-in-law Jared Kushner to join the faith. At first, Trump resisted, stating it would threaten his base of evangelical Christian voters. However, he had a change of heart and officially converted in early 2017.
That is when he lost me entirely. To my knowledge, President Trump is not Jewish. That pedophilia is satanic, that a satanic pedophile like Jeffrey Epstein worked for Israel. This is abundantly true. This is not a conspiracy. The fact that you are passing a resolution about me and not the people that protect Jeffrey Epstein says more about you. It then goes on and says that I repeated false claims that Jews are killing Christian children. Where did I say this? Where did I say that Jews are killing Christian children? Where did I say that? Nope, doesn't matter. You can just say whatever you want. It's Congress. This is like filing a lawsuit. You can just put things in there. I don't have to respond to it. This is going to be a part of record. This is going to be a part of U.S. history record as they bring this forth. And I have no opportunity to defend myself or to respond to any of these points. Beyond that, they then bring up, never, ever forget that in July 2024, I did not mention Joseph Mengele. And then they erupted by saying that because I said there was bizarre propaganda that followed the Holocaust, which is true. It is objectively true.
So, I remember my father, we both knew a person who had the tattoo. The only place there were tattoos were Auschwitz.
Auschwitz,
It was the only camp where they had the tattoos. And I said to my father about this person, and my father had the tattoo. I always knew the number. It was like 028128, something like that. I had memorized the number, but now I've forgotten it. I said to my father, do you think he was in Auschwitz? And my father said, no. And my father was not a conspiracy person.
Yeah.
No, he just said very matter-of-factly, non-judgmentally. He just said no. And I said to my father, I asked my father, so where did he get the number? And my father said, and I'm quoting him now, he said, well, after the war, some people took it off and some people put it on.
This reduced numbers are confirmed with the article titled, Poland Agrees to Change Auschwitz Tablets, published on June 17, 1992. It reads, after 50 years of deflecting the requests of Jewish groups, the Polish government has agreed to change the wording on stone tablets at Auschwitz and Birkenau, the adjacent Nazi camps where more than 1 million Jews died during World War II. The move follows decades of appeals by Jewish groups who say the current plaques do not fully reflect the suffering of Jews there and focus too heavily on the camp's non-Jewish victims. While thousands of non-Jews were among the estimated 1.5 million killed at Auschwitz, the victims were predominantly Jewish. Key quote from the actual updated Auschwitz tablets, the Nazis murdered about 1.5 million men, women, and children, mainly Jews from various countries of Europe. This is an extremely high reduction of 2.5 million from the total 6 million number that's rehearsed.
And you said on Patrick Bet-David's podcast as well, they play the victim card so effing much about Jewish people. I mean, do you not understand why Jewish people might feel a sense of victimhood, given that 6 million of them were killed in World War II by a genocidal monster in the Holocaust? Do you not understand why that might make Jewish people feel that, yes, they have indeed been victims?
Yeah, I mean, that figure's been revised, but, you know, I believe that Jewish supremacy is the greatest threat to America, and I think it's the greatest threat to the world today. I truly believe that.
What do you mean the figure's been revised? What do you mean?
Well, they said that it was 4 million that died in Auschwitz, and then they said it was down to 1 million, so they've revised the figure.
Okay, I'm going to show you that's objectively true. They insert this in here. Never forget that even, I guess never forget was appropriate to say there, that even the Auschwitz-Birkenau Museum, which has a podcast, asserted that there were lies told about Joseph Mengele. Not me asserting that. They did an official Holocaust memorial podcast where they discussed where some of the lies and exaggerations came from. It is not a threat to Jewish people to acknowledge that some people lie, okay? That some people misunderstand. I'm gonna play it for you. This is the official Holocaust Memorial podcast discussing Joseph Mengele, just so you can just read what they are writing and then hear, unless, I don't know, is Auschwitz Memorial podcast anti-Semitic? I don't know, but take a listen.
I want to note that many myths arose around Mengele in the camp, such as the alleged sewing together of twins, which did not happen, simply because Mengele saw himself as a scientist, a theoretician, a man conducting research. Sewing twins together, as Vera Alexander mentioned, wouldn't make sense from a medical point of view, because Mengele had sufficient medical knowledge, and the medical understanding of the time allowed him to know that it would lead nowhere. So where did this legend come from? It likely originated from the fact that Mengele performed transfusions on twins without prior cross-matching tests. This meant if the donor's blood didn't match the recipient's, it led to death. To perform a transfusion, people had to be connected, not sewn together, but connected with needles and tubes so that the blood could flow. Therefore, this legend about Mengele as someone who sewed children together probably came from this.
I want to be clear why this is important to you guys, and specifically I want to speak to Jewish Americans because it is just so reminiscent to me of how they wanted to pass hate speech laws in the fog of George Floyd, and they were using race and black people to try to do this. This is a threat to all of us. Jewish Americans, pay attention because they are using you to push through tyranny, okay? You are now the person they are using to push through tyranny. They think that you are too stupid to understand the difference between anti-Semitism, normal commentary, and debate. Also, by the way, there is an underlying assumption that you're too weak to deal with people who don't like you.
According to the ADL reports from the last couple of years, the average number of anti-Semitic incidents in the US is around 1,500 a year. I'm hoping Joel Levy can help me find a case I'll be able to follow.
What I'd like to do is to follow a case.
I understand, yeah.
You know, every film needs like a drive. Once we have like a case that we can follow, so that would be great.
We're going over the fresh data collected over the last couple of weeks to see if there's anything I will be able to film.
We have received in the last week or so someone who employment case, someone who wasn't able to take days off for the holiday.
There is an underlying assumption that you're too weak to deal with people who don't like you.
Someone who employment case, someone who wasn't able to take days off for the holiday. Someone who is a school teacher and wanted days off for Shavuot. Someone who is a nursing student and had some issues with taking time off, as well as with taking time off. We also got a phone call from someone who was complaining about a website that had anti-Semitic remarks on it. Mm-hmm. Someone who was complaining about an article in the newspaper who they thought had anti-Semitic undertones. Mm-hmm. And I mean, that seems to be the roundup.
And that's what we've had in the last 2 weeks. Those are the kinds of incidents that we've had recently. 5 in 2 weeks. So there's no way to predict.
So they got a bunch of organizations. So they invited Israel, and then they invited a bunch of organizations who think anything and everything is anti-Semitism. The ADL, which is notorious for thinking that any Jewish person who calls up the ADL and complains that they didn't get a job because they were Jewish, or they weren't given a lunch break they believe because they were Jewish, they call that anti-Semitism without even investigating it.
There wasn't anything suitable from the last 2 weeks. So Joel Levy tries to help me to find a case.
What they're looking for is an incident that they might be able, and they will do all the contact work, but an incident they might be able to follow, to actually see something that has happened, to go to the site, to talk to people there, to show what has happened, the impact on them, how we interact with all of that, and so on.
Assemblyman Hickind had a lot of Jewish voters in Brooklyn, and he suggested a case for me.
You know, I had a very interesting case just last week. A woman went to a funeral in not too far from here, thousands of people, and she heard a police officer on the phone say something to someone else, something very derogatory about the Jew something to somebody. This woman was at the funeral, she heard this. She was so upset, she wrote me a letter, I could show you the letter, and she called me. Yeah. Okay. Is this the only letter? Yeah. Okay. You want me to read part of it to you? Actually, you could look at it. I overheard a very disturbing conversation that a policeman had on his cell phone. I heard him say very loudly, I wasn't even standing close to him, quote, "I'm just finishing this Jewish shit." Sorry for using this kind of language, but this is the exact quote. I was so offended by the vulgar language, which is never appropriate, etc. And she goes on. I made it that the police officer called the woman. He apologized on the telephone.
Hickin thought it was a good case, but the police wouldn't let the officer go on camera, and the Jewish woman seemed to be satisfied that the policeman had apologized.
Who cares if people don't like me because I'm black? I don't actually care. I don't care. If that is your underlying thought process, that every time you see a black person, you're like, I hate that N-word. I hate N-words all the time. How's that going to impact my day? Why do we care so much about what other people think about us? It's not a little ridiculous. There's just this underlying weakness that allows people who are actually tyrannical, people who are actually doing despicable things, people who actually support the Epstein files and want to protect that network of human traffickers, okay? They pretend they're the good guys. They find people who are weak, can't take being called names. You can do it. Black people, you can do it. Jews, you can do it. Spanish people, you can do it. Asian people, you can do it. You can handle being called a name as long as you get to remain free. That's more important, okay? They are trying to flip that on its head so they can usher in tyranny. They want Europe. They want what's already happening in Florida. Police showing up on your door, asking you if you sent a tweet. Did you criticize Candace Owens today? She's black. Did you know she's black? It's racist. I get called the N-word every second of every day. Go on X. I don't care. Doesn't impact my day. I don't know who these people are on the internet. I don't feel threatened by that. Okay, you have a right to think racist thoughts. Now, I happen to genuinely not be a racist. But if people were racist, I understand the importance of making sure that we don't pass speech laws. And that is what is coming next, because they have been signaling it for a week straight, full fire. Not just Erica Kirk, also Caroline Leavitt came out and now is trying to equate speech to violence. Take a listen.
This political violence stems from a systemic demonization of him and his supporters by commentators, yes, by elected members of the Democrat Party, and even some in the media. The deranged lies and smears against the president, his family, his supporters have led crazy people to believe crazy things. Everyone who has a voice and a platform across this country, whether you're on television, a podcast host, people listen, and when you have mentally disturbed individuals across the country who are listening to this crazed rhetoric about the president day after day after day, it inspires them to do crazy things.
Laura Loomer is his top advisor. Like, it's so crazy. That they really come out here and they say this unflinchingly after the things that come out of Trump's Truth Social posts. Who is smearing and calling people names and dehumanizing people more, posting photos of me when I'm sick, than Donald Trump? Does that now mean that if an act of violence happens, every threat that happens, I get to now say that this is Trump's fault? And again, like I said, it's being echoed everywhere. Melania Trump, she tweeted and said this about Jimmy Kimmel. Jimmy Kimmel's joke that happened before the shooting, that it was hateful and violent rhetoric intended to divide our country. Meanwhile, Caroline Levitt is talking left versus right. Is that not divisive? His monologue about my family is not comedy. His words are corrosive and deepens the political sickness within America. Does she know who she's married to? Maybe she doesn't. She might not know. People like Kimmel shouldn't have the opportunity to enter our homes each evening to spread hate. This is laying the ground, ladies and gentlemen, for speech laws. They shouldn't have the opportunity. She's pretending it's about Jimmy Kimmel. You start with Jimmy Kimmel. If we don't defend Jimmy Kimmel, which makes me physically sick, I don't want to defend Jimmy Kimmel, but I know how it goes. You start outward, you pretend it's legitimate. Trump survived, it's assassination. We have to quick in the chaos. We have to just get these speech laws passed. And then they come inward. And they come inward. And they come inward. And then it's like grandma tweeted that this person was ugly. And suddenly you've got people knocking on your door. We can't have that.
Today, a foreign government, Israel, operates the most powerful lobby in Congress. This is AIPAC, the American-Israel Public Affairs Committee. Through control of Congress, Israel demands and gets nearly $5 billion annually. No elected official dares criticize Israel for fear the Jewish lobby will accuse him of anti-Semitism, the kiss of death for any politician. The president also knows what Israel wants, Israel gets. To act otherwise is political suicide. The mass media, founded and controlled primarily by Jews, manipulates the spigot of information out of which heartland America drinks. The message of this contaminated source is, if you criticize Israel, you are anti-Semitic. Be safe, keep your head down, or you are fair game for being knocked off by the Zionist shooting gallery.
As a result, our president and elected officials are slaves to political correctness when it comes to Jews and Israel. They cannot seriously criticize Israel, especially as the source of Mideast strife and terrorism. They cannot suggest an end of aid to Israel. They cannot even protest Zionist control of Congress.
How did such a small group of people, about 15 million worldwide, acquire such staggering leverage? It was not primarily through financial or media control, or even through political or military agreement. America has become enslaved to Israel because of the strongest of all bonds, religious ones.
I have said to people when they ask me if this Capitol crumbled to the ground, the one thing that would remain is our commitment to our aid, and I don't even call it aid, our cooperation with Israel. That's fundamental.
Growing up in Sunday school, I was taught from the Bible, those who bless Israel will be blessed, and those who curse Israel will be cursed. And from my perspective, I want to be on the blessing side of things.
Of those who bless the government of Israel?
Those who bless Israel is what it says. It doesn't say the government of, it says the nation of Israel. So that's in the Bible. As a Christian, I believe that.
Where is that?
I can find it to you. I don't have the scripture off the tip of my... You pull out the phone and use the...
It's in Genesis. But so you're quoting a Bible phrase. You don't have context for it and you don't know where in the Bible it is, but that's like your theology? I'm confused. What does that even mean?
Tucker.
I'm a Christian. I want to know what you're talking about.
Okay. Where does my support for Israel come from? Number one, because biblically we're commanded to support Israel. But number two...
Hold on. Hold on. You're a senator, and now you're throwing out theology, and I am a Christian, and I am allowed to weigh in on this. We are commanded as Christians to support the government of Israel?
We are commanded to support Israel. And what
does that mean, Israel?
We're told those who bless Israel will be blessed.
But what, hold on, define Israel. This is important. Are you kidding? This is a majority Christian country.
Define Israel? Do you not know what Israel is? That would be the country you've asked like 49 questions about.
So that's what Genesis, that's what God is talking about.
The nation of Israel, yes.
So is that the current borders, the current leadership? He's talking about the political entity called Israel?
He's talking about the nation of Israel. Yeah, nations exist, and he's discussing a nation. A nation was the people of Israel.
Is the nation
They're the descendants
God's
of
referring
Abraham.
to in Genesis, is that the same as the country run by Benjamin Netanyahu right now?
Yes.
It is.
You guys okay this evening? All right. Every good thing we know, all the things we love about the Bible, they were given to us of the Jewish nation. Israel, their people, the Jews, are better than all of us. They're better than all of us. And you need to accept that. A lot of people hate Israel, the Arab countries, and they want to drive them into the sea. But we know what? That God will not cast away his people. When Jesus said salvation is of the Jews, he was right. All right, one more question. Who wants to ask it?
When they was done.
When are we going to get done? This is where, with the kids, where we start our indoctrination. And I know that's a strong word to use, indoctrination. Did it, it gets such a bad reputation. But that's where it starts. That's where it started with me when I was a child, that I was taught about the support that the church owes to Israel.
So all your loose change that you have from home, you bring that change to school. Everything that we get, we will actually cash it in and make a check out to the Fellowship for Christians and Jews. And so far, you guys are doing a good job.
Do you think it's strange for parents here that their kids are asked to donate money to my country?
I don't think so. I mean, maybe. I don't know. Maybe there's some people that would say, well, what does the church have any business, helping Israel? I don't care what those people think. I know what's right, and I know what we're going to keep doing. As long as I'm here, we're going to keep helping the fellowship.
Theological errors within Bible-Belt Christianity, going back long before modern Israel ever became a state, have made America vulnerable to the most intense Zionist propaganda. Such error has encouraged a love affair between the church and Israel. This has blinded Christians to the atrocities of Israel against the Palestinians.
Consequently, Israel First evangelicals, along with Israel, have worked together to become the two greatest provocations of strife and terrorism in the Mideast.
The largest ever U.S. delegation to Israel just took place. 250 state legislators from all 50 states arrived Monday for an event called 50 States, One Israel. They planted 50 trees at a site of the October 7th attacks and met with Israeli leaders. Netanyahu's office called it the biggest bipartisan visit of American lawmakers to Israel. Foreign Minister Gideon Sa'ar urged them to push anti-BDS laws in their states, which are meant to discourage boycotts of Israel. So far, 38 states have already adopted such measures. Sa'ar described BDS as part of a coordinated global effort against Israel, saying the best response has been anti-BDS legislation. But the trip's timing sparked controversy. The very next day, the UN ruled for the first time that Israel is committing genocide in Gaza, while Israel relaunched its ground invasion of Gaza City. And despite its scale and timing, this massive visit has barely been covered by international media. Only local Israeli outlets reported on it, leaving many to question why such a major event went largely unnoticed.
And Israel's Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
A partnership between Israel's Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Friends of Zion Museum led to the unprecedented visit.
It's the first time in history the State of Israel has officially partnered with 1,000 strategic pastors to commission them as ambassadors to combat anti-Semitism and reach the youth of their generation.
Dr. Mike Evans says Israel's fight is not just on the battlefield.
Right now there's an ideological war that Israel's losing. So they need the evangelicals, they need the Zionists to fight an ideological war.
One of the goals of this gathering is to strengthen Christian support during a time of growing global anti-Semitism. They say the pulpit must speak louder than the propaganda.
In this video, we will discuss how Judaism and evangelical Christianity have gone so far astray.
First, we will take a long look at Judaism to see exactly how she went wrong thousands of years ago. Then we will consider how she continues to go wrong today, and how the Bible prophesies she will go even more wrong in the future. After that, we will consider how Christianity strayed from the truth almost from the very beginning. We will see how heretical influences, beginning nearly 2,000 years ago, vitally contributed to today's alliance between Judaism and Christianity.
After discussing what is wrong theologically with both Judaism and evangelical Christianity, we will then briefly discuss how innumerable troubles could have been avoided if 100 years ago the Church in America had been true to the Bible. Since departure from biblical truth has led America and the world to the brink of a Mideast Armageddon, it only stands to reason that return to God's law will steer us in the direction of peace. Let's turn now to the history of the Jews.
The great one, Mark Levin. And much more importantly, his much more brilliant wife. Where are you? There you are. Would you come on up here, both of you? Get up here. Get up here. Look, every Saturday, every Sunday, I'm forced to watch television to listen to this guy talk about how frickin' great I am. Because he does like Trump. There's no question about it. Come on up here, Mark. Get up here. Come on up. What a beautiful couple. Did you get lucky? If you weren't a genius, you wouldn't have a wife like this. Mark, say a couple of words. Come here, darling. And these people do like Israel.
Hold on. And he loves Israel too.
It's true.
2 seconds. Just 2 seconds. 6 years ago, I was up here, and I said, "This is our first Jewish president."
It's true.
Now he's the first Jewish president to serve two not consecutive presidencies. We thank you for everything.
For example, the primary opponent of Judge Roy Moore in his defense of the Ten Commandments is Jewish lawyer Morris Dees and his Southern Poverty Law Center. In the same way, so-called anti-hate laws have been pioneered, both in the U.S. and Canada by the Jewish Anti-Defamation League of B'nai B'rith. These are really anti-Christian laws ending free speech. In Canada, the Canadian Jewish Congress recently pushed through Parliament its new anti-hate bill, C-300. C-300 makes it a criminal offense to publicly use the Bible to argue against homosexuality. Penalty for violation is 5 years in prison. In America also, the ADL's monster anti-hate bill, the Local Law Enforcement Enhancement Act, awaits passage by Congress. It would establish a vast federal anti-hate bureaucracy similar to Canada's.
Are you familiar with Genesis 12:3?
Probably not as well as you are, Congressman.
Well, it's pretty clear. It was the covenant that God made with Abraham. And that covenant was real clear. If you bless Israel, I will bless you. If you curse Israel, I will curse you. And then in the New Testament, it was confirmed that all nations would be blessed through you. So you do not know about that.
I have heard that. Now that you've explained it, yes, I have heard that before.
It's now familiar. Do you consider that a serious issue? I mean, do you want Columbia University to be cursed by God of the Bible? I mean, do you want Columbia University to be cursed by God of the Bible?
I mean, do you want Columbia University to be cursed by God?
To folks in the pro-Israel community, we have no choice but to stay engaged and stay in this fight.
I just want to extend my sincere gratitude to this community for helping me get to Congress and assure everybody that you're going to have a long-term friend.
My administration will never tolerate the suppression, persecution, or silencing of the Jewish people. We have also taken a firm stand against the so-called divestment and sanctions movement, or BDS. You know that very well. And I have to tell you, Jared Kushner and Ivanka, they've been talking to me about this for 3 years now, maybe longer than that.
Trump's the what do you mean? He has his own buildings. What are you talking about? He's like, like Ralph Lauren. He made Ivanka.
You like Ivanka?
Yeah.
You wrote a post on Instagram about her husband today.
Yeah, you know, I had a dinner with Ivanka, Jared, and Josh. And a couple days later, I found out that Josh Kushner had 10% of Skims, which is a line that I had developed with Kim. And I had a lot of issues with the imagery of Skims. I felt like there was a lot of imagery that was overly sexualized and things that I wouldn't want to see my wife and definitely not my daughters doing in the future in order to sell product. But it reaches another level when it's like, okay, well, this is what my wife is doing and this is what they're doing this is what she's doing for our children. But it reaches another level when her business partners are selling pieces of the company that they don't have to because the company's already so successful and it's an internet-based company. So it's like they're really just selling off the company in order to create more relationships for themselves that are unneeded. And then after talking to them and really sitting with Jared and sitting with Josh and finding out other pieces of information, I was like, wow, these guys might have really been holding Trump back and being very much a handler right then. They love to just look at me or look at Trump like we're so crazy and that they're the businessmen. So when I think about all of these things that Jared, you know, somehow doesn't get enough credit for with his work, and what is it, his work in Israel or his work in Palestine, what is this? You know where he made these peace treaties? Where was that? Do you know the facts on this right here? So I'm like...
I think that was between Israel and some of the Arab nations.
I just think it was to make money. I don't know, is that too heavy-handed to put in this platform?
No, that's your opinion. We're not in the censorship business.
Okay, thank you. And I just think that that's what they're about, is making money. I don't think that they have the ability to make anything on their own. I think they were born into money.
Yeah, that's not shallow. And it's also not crazy. It's true, whether you agree with it or not.
And I have to tell you, Jared Kushner and Ivanka, they've been talking to me about this for 3 years now, maybe longer than that. But I go back about 3 years where it's something that I could do about it. You know, in this position, we can do things about it. Before that, not quite as much. I'd be just like you. Successful, doing nicely, but not for this. But they've been talking from the beginning of the administration. They've been bringing this up. And we forcefully condemn this anti-Semitic campaign against the state of Israel and its citizens.
Among the bills that are up for consideration are those that would make anti-Semitism a hate crime.
Yeah, one would adopt the International Holocaust Alliance definition of anti-Semitism and trigger penalties under the state's hate crimes law. But it's already getting pushback. And Fox 5's Christopher King is live at the state capitol with the details on this. Christopher.
Russ, Courtney supporters say this particular bill would define clearly what anti-Semitism is. They say right now there is no definition of anti-Semitism in Georgia code, but opponents say this particular measure could interfere with First Amendment rights. Georgia lawmakers head back to work next week. Among the big issues they'll debate this legislative session, proposals on anti-Semitism.
Our bill would define the term anti-Semitism.
State Representative Esther Panich last year introduced a bill that uses the International Holocaust Alliance definition. Anti-Semitism is hatred toward Jewish people, rhetorical and physical acts against Jewish people, their property, community institutions, and religious facilities.
It would be punished as a hate crime.
Panich, the only Jewish member of the General Assembly, says her bill would place anti-Semitism under the state's existing hate crime law. She says right now there is no definition in the Georgia Code stating what anti-Semitism is.
It defines what it is because right now there's no definition.
This proposal misses the mark on its intention.
Critics like State Representative Ruah Roman say the Panich bill would do little to fight anti-Semitism. Roman calls the language in that legislation too vague.
The bill doesn't actually have the definition in it.
Anti-Zionism is anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism. All of that is anti-Jew. They're saying it's a worldwide problem, right? Because the world is criticizing Israel right now because they are colonizers. They are committing crimes against humanity. So we're not allowed to say any of that. So basically, if you say anything against Israel at all, then you are anti-Semitic. I just think we should get rid of the word anti-Semite completely. I don't think there should be an anti-Semite word. It shouldn't be something that exists. This is the document, what is this? This is the HR document, HR 6090. It is the anti-Semitism bill that they put out there. Let's just go ahead and kind of take a look at this. Because this is interesting. They couldn't even define in this bill what anti-Semitism is, although that the American Jewish Committee just did. They said anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism, so that's your definition now. If you say anything against Israel, it's anti-Semitism. This bill, they had a hard time defining it. They couldn't even define in this bill what anti-Semitism is, although that the American Jewish Committee just did. They said anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism, so that's your definition now. If you say anything against Israel, it's anti-Semitism. This bill, they had a hard time defining it. They also can't define what a Jew is. If you say anything against Israel, it's anti-Semitism. This bill, they had a hard time defining it. They also can't define what a Jew is. Let me just go ahead and read some of this to you. It says, this act may be cited as the Anti-Semitism Awareness Act of 2023. It is the sense of Congress that Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 prohibits discrimination on the basis of race, color, and national origin in programs and activities receiving federal financial assistance. While such title does not cover discrimination based solely on religion, individuals who face discrimination based on actual or perceived shared ancestry or ethnic characteristics do not lose protection under such title for being members of a group that share a common religion. So they admit right there that while this such title does not cover discrimination based solely on religion, which is what being Jewish is a religion, that's what it is.
What's your thoughts? Please be respectful with your comments. Also, please click the like, click the notification bell, and subscribe to this channel.
Listen, Genesis chapter 11 verse 10 explains the genealogy of Shem. Shem was a black man in Africa. If you repeat this back, Genesis 14 verse 13, Abraham steps on the scene. Being a descendant of Shem, which is a fact, means Abraham too was black. Abraham, born in the city of a black man, called Nimrod, grandson of Ham. Ham had 4 sons. One was named Canaan. Here, let me do some explaining. Abraham, Isaac was Jacob had 12 sons. For real, and these were the children of Israel, according to Genesis chapter 10. These were the children of Israel, according to Genesis chapter 10. These were the children of Israel, according to Genesis chapter 10.